district, with our leadership down to our central leadership down to schools, in coming up with a plan, because our goal was to get our kids back in school, but to do it the right way and safely. And, I have to commend the staff at all of the schools, but I'm just talking about the high school right now. My staff has been amazing. The students have been amazing. The kids, we have, decorated our school with arrows and signs and staircases only going one way. And I think the whole theme of our school and our district is adapting and overcoming. And that's exactly what the staff has done and what my students have done. They have adapted to this new way of life, and it's like they haven't missed a trick. And it's translating into all aspects. Our football team, we're going in this week with 3-0 to Keansburg, and I'm very proud of them. I swear I was jumping up and down on the field on Saturday. Kathleen texted me and said, "Your legs have not stopped moving." I really thought I was going to have a heart attack. So it's not just about winning games. What I'm seeing, what's translating about adapting and overcoming and dealing with adversity. Our kids played against Asbury, which you guys all know. We have a lot of students from Asbury, right, that had transferred to our school. And, yes, there's the normal football smack talk, but for the most part, and I, spoke to Mr. Bird and Mr. Stark about this, I saw a lot of respectful behavior on the field, kids helping each other up, kids, not so much trash talking. I saw one of the boys from Asbury, because we're not allowed to shake hands. They're touching the whole game. I don't really quite understand, but that's just the NJSIAA. The boy came over because a couple of our boys on the team, went to school with him, and he came and congratulated them and gave them a big hug. Like, that win was not just about winning a game. That is about the transition of a program and how amazing our program is growing. And when kids are successful on the field and in the classroom, it's like how you do one thing is how you do everything. So everything is starting to get into the flow and come into place. So I'm really, really proud of our boys and of all of our students for coming back, adapting, and overcoming. And that's about it, unless you have any questions for me. Yes?
Just to recap on the appeal, how long is the process for that?
Christy can answer, because she.
Okay. Yeah, so the appeal was approved. It won't transition into the actual rate until we do our performance report, which is due on November 20th.
Okay, so
and they were two kids that were not originally mine. They were in my school, I think, for the last year only. So that's where, with the reporting, where things could have gotten confused. But we've already been approved. Those two definitely graduated. It's just getting it's not worked into our numbers yet.
Okay, and I just have one more follow-up question.
Sure.
As far as for the class of 2020, and I understand the pandemic is kind of harsh on everybody, but what's the plan for encouraging the kids to go to some of the virtual college tours, the virtual work-based?
So that's really. I'm glad that you guys that, Ken. Thank you. So through our senior seminar class, got my guidance team and Mr. Dondero have been working very closely together. We've already had 3 or 4 virtual college tours already through senior seminar, and that's how we're doing them through that class. Mr. Dondero is already working on the FAFSA with our seniors. Ms. O'Hara's son was texting her today about questions about that when we were in a meeting. So Mr. Dondero and the guidance team, we have really developed such a cohesive system for preparing our kids, and it's okay. We don't just. It's not just you have to go to college. It's okay.
No.
But it's about creating goals and then learning the pathway. So in order to really know if you want to go to college or not, you need to be able to see, is this something for me? Research, and then make an educated decision. So that's what we want to arm our kids with, as much information as possible. So these virtual college tours are going all year, and they've already been a huge success. So really excited about that.
We're utilizing that.
Yeah, really excited about that. Hey.
So that's amazing. What, about a 6% increase in graduation rate over the last 5 years?
From 16 when we had 80 points, so that is.
Is there something that you attribute to that, or?
No, I think I do think that there is consistency in our district. The teachers at the high school, most of my teachers have been there for such a long time, and it's
A lot of them taught me.
But yeah, so you know that. I also, like, even like looking at this year, so, like, we have some teachers that are not in due to extenuating circumstances. I have like subs that are here, one sub that taught here that I had a riff, came back to teach and has just like, you know, the kids are seeing that consistency, they're developing relationships, and, you know, we're also arming them with as much information and knowledge as we possibly can. And, you know, we're gonna continue to do that, like that is, and, you know, also go knocking on their doors when they don't come to school and, you know, drag them in as much as we can, and,
I know,
Yeah.
I've had to deal with that.
yeah. So, you know, we're doing the best we can.
I mean, you
with
think
what
we're
we got.
gonna eventually hit the state average? I mean, it's been a trend going upwards, you think this is gonna be something?
Yeah,
you think
I mean,
that's reasonable for us to approach?
Hell yeah, like, I think we're gonna meet the state average, you know, it's.
That's the
it's-
exact answer.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, we're working every day, like, this is, you know, it does take time, but what's most important to me is progress. And honestly, with the transients, like I said, every new student that comes in here, you know, we're proud to have them. We're gonna cultivate them into being.
And just so you understand what Jennifer was saying, so the new student that we received yesterday, that is supposed to be a senior, has 37 credits, you need 100.
Yeah,
So
No,
that's
I-
something
yeah,
that's
no,
coming
I
in as a
get
senior,
that,
is
yes, and
37.
right, so these things
So
impact
what-
us, but we're
Is there
gonna.
any way we can, you know, is there any programs, I know, maybe you explain the program that you're
Well,
saying?
so with a student like that, like I went to Ms. O'Hara already, we came up with a plan. There is a credit recovery program, not sure if they're taking new students right now and whatnot, but we do have our credit recovery apex, so we've already, before, like, we don't know if our, like, Ms. O'Hara did approve, like, him doing this other program.
Yes.
So if that doesn't go through, we've already got him started in his classes, gave him a full load, plus like we already mapped out his APEX classes. So even if he's gonna be a fifth-year graduate, if he stays with us and he can't get into that program, he'll be a fifth-year graduate, but we've already mapped out the entirety of like what he has to do.
Plan to have, well, his
Yeah.
goal to stay in high school very much.
100%. So when these kids come in, like if they're not from Keansburg and they come from a different district that didn't have the same resources that we do to offer, you know, we're gonna do everything we can to get these kids to graduate. I mean, I love, when they get to the high school, they're tightened and then
Yeah.
we're
No,
gonna
that's
take care of it.
fantastic, I mean, 6% increase over like 5 years,
Yeah.
that's amazing, that's 1% a year. Just wanna make sure we at least hit the state average and keep going. Thank you very much, I
Yeah.
love your answer.
Yes.
It's great on the football team. I noticed it when I saw the paper on Sunday that was just.
Oh, yeah, I'll tell you something else in a minute. Go ahead.
But what about the other teams?
What do you mean?
What other sports are being played?
Well, we have, right at the high school still, we have cross country. All of our sports are in play. We just got word from the NJSIA about basketball with the 25% capacity and wrestling. So as of right now, like we are moving forward, and I have to give so much credit to Mr. Stark and the athletic program, Kelly Hudson, our trainer. They have done an amazing job with really aligning to every specific, you know, CDC and Department of Education, NJSIA codes, and you know, so we're going to keep going until they tell us we can, which I hope they never do.
So it's the only sport that's available to the girls in the
Tennis
fall is cross country?
and tennis,
Yeah,
bowling.
Are we
Bowling.
doing tennis?
but bowling is not yet. Bowling is not yet.
What about the collaborative
Are we
between,
doing tennis?
Yeah, Mr. LaRusso is our tennis coach. Yeah.
what about the collaborative with keyboard and field hockey? Do we have anybody that signed up for that?
No,
Okay.
no, not at this moment.
And what about the other extracurricular activities that aren't?
Our pet band right now only has 6 students. So we're working on, you know, we have to kind of, all of our kids have graduated and we're regrowing that program. So, you know, we're going to continue on.
I just wanna make sure we're still offering it, not just.
But you will
sports,
see at
but
football games, the band is a combination of the 8th graders from both
I was
middle
gonna say.
school and the high school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
that's
they-
good to see.
And
I
we
just
still,
mean any extracurricular, you know,
Yes,
band was
they
the
are,
same example, and just as long as we're still offering it to the students.
yeah, we still have our student council. We're coming up with alternatives. Like obviously we couldn't do a homecoming like the way we wanted to do
Yeah.
homecoming. We're hoping to be able to do something in spring, but we're doing like spirit days and Ms. Lopez, the student council advisor, just sent me a bunch of stuff. So, you know, we're still doing things to kind of instill our community, school spirit and whatnot. And our football team was nominated for team of the week, by the way, also, Mr. Bennett. Yeah,
That was great.
yeah,
Our Tower conference, and they did just
Yeah.
get the,
yeah.
yeah,
That's wonderful.
They got a prize for that, like a $500 jersey bag. Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
So,
Thank you, that's all my questions.
okay, great. Any other questions? I feel like I've taken up
You did.
full time.
And you did. I will not be Welcome everybody, I'm Joe LaRocca, I'm the principal of Boulder Middle School. So one of our goals this year was to get our students back to as normal as we possibly could be. So as of September 8th, the first day of school, we had 58% of our students in person, 42% virtual. What we're expecting back at the second marking period is 65% in person. So that's an increase, and it's something we're excited to see. Our idea was to get as many students as we can in front of teachers every day. So that increase is good to see. Unfortunately, we know that we have transitioned from an in-person virtual cohort to a all remote. So one of the things we've been working on, before we had to go remote, these are the pictures of some of our Titans of the Month for September. So we've been working hard in the classroom. Go ahead. Our band, our Boulder band is back. We have changed a little bit. They're playing outside out back. If you want a free concert, come show up in the morning around 7 o'clock. They're outside playing. Some cold fingers, but they're still doing it. Our virtual kids also do come in the morning to participate, and then any students who are uncomfortable about coming in, they can participate virtually from home. So that's a positive. We do have our cross country team running. They were able to participate in a few meets. Unfortunately, we had to cut the season short and cancel our last 3 meets. But there have been some opportunities to get involved in extracurricular activities. I do want to commend our students for their perseverance as we transition in and out of virtual and remote learning. I do want to commend our teachers for their adaptability as we change and eventually transition back to in-person. And I want to thank our parents for their cooperation. Any questions? And thank you. Yes.
That number that you said for in-person was 65%, right?
Correct.
So was that taken before or after? When was that taken?
That was after the survey results came out.
When was that?
October 15th.
Just closed, the survey was.
Yeah, they asked that one.
Okay, and that's all.
On the cross-country, what happened to the last 3 meets?
The last 3, as we transitioned out of in-person due to our quarantine, we had to cancel our last 3 races.
Mr. Bennett, I'm sorry, are you aware that Boulder Middle School is closed right now? Okay.
But I didn't know that. So when the school closed.
Well, really, it's more of a matter of who's willing to race us too. Who's willing to come here? 3 weeks it was.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, hello everybody. I am Elise McMahon, principal of Keansburg School. Not too many numbers to show you tonight, but I look forward to next year's numbers. But what I do have to show you and talk to you about are just some proof in the pudding pictures. The goal all summer for all of us was to make school as normal as possible, especially for our younger kids. And I know that a lot of people were, uneasy and a little frightened as to what it would look like. I can't even tell you that it is better than we thought it was going to be, with the exception of wearing a mask. I have Tammy here and I have Tara here, they're in the building. I'm pretty sure that they will agree. It is pretty darn close to normal. We have no issues. We have no issues with kids wearing masks. We're walking through the halls the way we're supposed to. I mean, everything is pretty close to perfect. So I just wanted to show you, these are all candid shots. This was an inside, oh wait, go back one, sorry. The one on the right is an outside classroom, so people sign up for daily outside academic mask break times where they are also continuing their education. You can just click to the next one, please. Just another one, so we just wanted to show you as well as families who are going to be viewing this. We are social distancing, even on the road, but it's normal. They're learning. You can't see the teacher, but the teacher has a read aloud book. They're participating in conversations. They're doing everything that they would ordinarily do. Here's just another picture of our therapy session. So, aside from the plexiglass, they are doing everything that they would do on a regular day. Just a couple more pictures just to show you where we have some divisions between students, but also, they're also doing group work, and then another one of just an outdoor read aloud. So people are taking advantage of the nice weather and using the outside for a mask break. Gym class, I don't know if you could tell that they are wearing masks, but they are playing. They've been pretty creative. I will give it up to our PE teachers. They've been pretty creative in some new games that kids can be physical with, but be a little bit separate as well. And then just so cute. Keep going. But it would not be possible if it were not for teachers. And I wrote it up in this month's principal's report, which I never do. I can't even tell you how hard they're working. I know that you know, but to walk through the halls, and I would love for somebody to come and visit anytime between 1 and 2:30, because to walk through the halls during remote time is amazing. They didn't know that their pictures being taken. But to have to teach to a computer with some faces there and be creative and be happy and
The
be
attention of 5-year-olds.
with the attention of 5-year-olds, who was Coriana's kindergarten teacher, and they're doing it, and they're doing it well. They're doing it better than they think that they're doing it. So I just need for you to understand how great you're doing. Can you just, you know, and we're
Seems
just
like
making
Mr.
it
Lee's
through.
playing
Yeah.
by himself.
He is teaching, but I thought he deserved to be in the picture. So I think there might be one more, okay? This is just what some of them are doing. I really tried to get one particular teacher who really does not like to be on camera, but she has a little setup in her room on the floor where she is teaching with all of her materials nice and low. Everything is out in front of her. She has her whiteboard and she's doing her virtual lessons. It's just pretty amazing. And I know that they don't love doing it because it's really hard, but they're doing really a bang-up job. So I do commend them. Just a couple of things. Band started today over at Caruso. Flora starts on Thursday, so we're looking forward to that. Student council representatives have been chosen, so they're going to start to plan some spirit days and some little fundraisers that are allowable. And I didn't write the number there, but just so that you know, we have 490 in-person students as of today and 287 remote. So we're doing pretty well. I know a lot of people do want to come back. I've heard it a lot. So our survey does go out on November 9th. So anybody who's watching, please make sure to fill that out if you do plan on returning. Okay. Any questions? We're good? Jen's the whole time. Thank you guys.
And now you guys are gonna love me because I'm down. Thank you all for coming. My name is Anna Stein. I'm the supervisor of early childhood education. I do run both pre-K programs at both sites, one at Vermont Road and the other at the This is going to be our new building. The SDA has been on site to start the renovation and restoration / project of the Vermont Road School. We are very, very excited. After 22 years of being in TCUs, we are going to have an actual new building. So we are very, very excited about that. This is just an example. So our pre-K programs are actually the closest to our regularly run program as possible. So we are in full day. We have 141 students total. Of those 141 students, only 31 are remote. Everybody else is full day in person. The only real change to our schedule is that the students are doing driving and breakfast, so that allows time for chefs. We have found that, as this man so eloquently said, we wouldn't be able to accomplish this. People literally said to me, "You guys are going to be closed in a day. You guys are going to be closed in half a day." We wouldn't have made it this far without the hard work of the teachers, without the hard work of the parents, and without the hard work of really close work with Alma. I'm not going to kid anybody. There have been some bumps in the road, but we have been working really, really hard together to make this happen for our kids, because we know at 3 and 4 year olds, virtual is really hard. And I can tell you, because I do some of the remote sessions, it's hard. Because I didn't want to ask my teachers to do it without me having seen what the work was. So I just want to say thank you to my staff that's here, and thank you all for your support, because it took a lot of work to get 22-year-old TCUs to be fully functioning classrooms and things like that. So thank you.
Thank you.
In.
Sorry. What's up? Oh, I didn't finish my highlights. The SCA has been on site. We had hoped that they would be progressing a little bit sooner. They had said to us at our last meeting that they would be gating off the current Fort Monmouth Road site. which would change the traffic pattern somewhat for KHS and for ourselves, and for long-term TCUs. That hasn't happened yet, but we are working with them to push that along. They are very kindly upgrading the security system to be in compliance with Alyssa's law, which is absolutely wasn't part of the deal, but they looked at how important Alyssa's law was and they agreed to do that for us, which I think is a huge win for our district. For people that don't know, that allows the school to have a panic button system so that if there was an emergency, we would immediately be able to alert the police. So that's awesome. That's going to save the district a lot of money. They did promise us that the site would have 24-hour security, and our anticipated opening has been pushed to 2022. So we're fingers crossed.
I just asked, what was their reason on why they can't drop off temporary fencing? It's just fencing and sandbags.
They said it's not in yet.
So they're waiting.
Yes, they're waiting their delivery.
All right. I figured it was an answer.
They're waiting their
Yeah.
delivery.
All right, thank you.
Can I ask one question? You said the number was 141 students. Since this isn't mandatory, is that a decrease in the normal?
That is a decrease in our regular enrollment. So we pulled our October 15th number from last year, it was 202, and that actually was up. Typically, our numbers within the last 5 years have been between 175 and 185. We usually see a jump in enrollment after the winter holidays. I feel like people, like Jen was talking about the transiency, people, we feel like leave, and then for whatever reason, after the winter holiday, they end up coming back. So we usually would see a jump between January and March, and that number usually brings us up to somewhere between 215 and 225. So enrollment is low right now. I do feel like there was a population of people that did not feel comfortable sending their preschooler at all. And we have seen even in recent years that people are more apt to send their 4-year-old than to send their 3-year-old. And I feel like the circumstances of the pandemic exacerbated that. So I am hoping that the longer that we are open and people see that we are functioning and that the children are safe, that will, make people feel confident about the program that we're running. We'll see what happens.
Just a quick question. How is the virtual learning kind of being performed? Because, for let's say an older kid, let's say an 8th grader, they know to go on the computer, they know to be engaged. How does that work for pre-K?
So what we did was, we had actually originally assigned times and then found that because our assigned times were aligned with the rest of the districts, it actually didn't work for families. So we worked with each of the individual families, figured out what the best time in their schedule was. The DOE asked for us to do a 10 to 15 minute live, and that is all. Because it's not developmentally appropriate for a small child to sit in front of a computer screen for that long.
Okay.
So our live consists of essentially what they would get in the classroom as their morning message or their morning reading. So that would be a message board that they would read with the teacher, a song, a brief activity, another song, and then that takes it out to 15 minutes.
Wow.
And then but that message board is linked to the content area board.
Okay.
So they get all of the content areas that are in the board, and they get essentially it's homework. And then we ask families to send in proof, essentially, that they're working on that work. And then that's how we would do ours.
So they're more like engaging activities
Yes.
that they can do at home,
Yeah.
but they're only getting about 10 to 15 minutes.
They're getting about 10 to 15 minutes.
And you actually went and changed the times for parents, so it worked?
We did.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and we were able to group the parents, into smaller groups because some of the children had a really hard time attending. So we do have groups the biggest group we have is 5 and the smallest group we have is 1.
Oh, wow.
So that student will get 1.
Just so you guys know, Ann is teaching them, because she wanted to be able to reach every child at their time, so Ann is teaching groups.
Yeah.
That's
Fantastic, thank you.
Yeah.
Who else have any other questions? All right. Thank you so much for your time, all.
Thank you.
Hello, Tara Smith. I'm here to speak for Pupil Personnel Services. It consists of our child study team, our related services, our occupational therapists, our physical therapists, and our speech therapists, our nurses, our staff counselor, and our paraprofessionals. So this is a highlight of our special ed department numbers. Our numbers have grown over the last couple of years. Something that we really do a nice job of is offering a variety of programs here. We have our self-contained, our in-class support. Our autism classes have grown. We have an additional autism program at the elementary school. We had one last year, now we have two. So we were able to bring back some former students who were out of district. And so our hope is that those numbers, as we work with those kids, we'll be able to keep more of them in and, as they move up to high school. Our out-of-district numbers are right now at 44 students. Just like, Jen said, we do get a lot of transient students, so we did have a high number of special ed students transfer in September and even in October. So sometimes, if we don't have a program, such as an autism program at the high school, we do have to send them out. So sometimes, it's hard to not have those high numbers. Some special highlights and news that we have is we started a special education parent advisory group. This is something that all school districts should have. The group named it Titan Friends of Diverse Learners. We had our first meeting back in September at Collins Field. We had about 7 parents, and we're trying to continue to get the word out there. Information we want to continue to put on our Facebook page and our website, and they also have a Facebook page. So if you know of anyone, please encourage them to join and reach out. They can reach out to me or the group, and I can direct them. Our autism program is growing. We have a board-certified behavior analyst who we contract out, who comes 2 days a week, and she's working with those teachers, helping them make programs, and work with the students and teachers to get them on track. We also have, it's called Rethink Ed. It assists with program development. So like I said, our goal is to continue to keep these students in district and create something up into high school. Another thing that we're working with is our behavioral disabilities program. I am doing a professional development with the staff that are currently behavioral disabilities teachers, plus a couple other special ed teachers. And we're really working hard to work on a consistent behavior point system like they do in other school districts. We send a lot of our students to the Long Branch Alternative School District. I had the opportunity to visit that program last year, so we're trying to fit some of the things that they have that are working for our students to keep them in district.
What does PDP stand for?
Professional Development Plan. All staff have to do that.
I thought
so
that
that,
was fun to make sure.
Yep. And here is an example of some of our students working hard throughout the day. Any questions?
Is there anything that is being taught to the kids about COVID safety and all that? How do they deal with that?
Yes, so something that I did is I worked with a lot of the special ed teachers, more so at the preschool and elementary level. So there is tons of information. Something that we use a lot with special ed students is something called social stories. It's kind of a special kind of picture book that teaches them a skill on how to work on those things. So there's things about social distancing, hand washing, why people wear masks, mask wearing. There was songs that I found and just other picture books. So all that information, I had meetings with teachers, copied it for teachers. Those teachers have also sent information home for parents. We had a couple of students at the preschool with special needs who were having some difficulty with masks, and between Mrs. Hazeldine and I and the teachers, we now have students who are now wearing them or taking very little breaks.
So they're taking a positive approach.
Yeah, they're, so it was just really kind of training them, and I think also just seeing the other kids and the teachers wearing them. But yeah, it was being reinforced at home and at school.
I have a question. So what was it, 23% you said of the special education students? Does that include the out-of-district placements?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Ms. Ramita. I'm the supervisor of curriculum instruction, and I'm going to present I mean, a lot of districts are scrambling to say, what do we do now? We haven't had the testing, but we were able to get it in before we left, which means that we were able to exit some of our students as well as place them in the proper program for September. So basically what this is an English language proficiency assessment for students in K through grade 12. It's given to every student every year that's an English language learner. So we identify those students. It monitors the English language development of students and it measures students' language proficiency. And a 1.0 is a beginning stage and a 6.0 is an advanced stage. In order to exit the program, the students do have to get a 4.5 as well as looking at a series of multiple measures that we look at the ELL component. All right, so here's our scores. So you'll see the grade level on one side. You'll see the number of students for each grade level that was tested. And you'll see the number of students that we did exit that had that 4.5 score or higher. Some things to keep in mind. Some of our students that do come to us are port of entry students. So that is a little bit of a struggle, that the teachers have to work with. In addition, some of these students are also students that have IEPs. So not only are they lacking the language, but there is some sort of disability that goes along with it as well. All right, and this is our middle school and our high school scores. So like I said, a lot of these students, especially at the older age, will come in as port of entry. So it is a little bit of a challenge to exit them out.
The number of students tested, is that just that they request to be tested, so leave it, or?
No, so those are the students that have been identified, have been receiving ELL services within the district, and then they take this assessment to see if they.
You have to take it out.
Yeah.
You're in the program, you have to.
Maybe well, just some of them,
Some
like,
said
6 and then 0 took it, and then,
No, that's
Oh,
what
zero.
that's what we exited out.
Okay, you can go back to that slide.
Oh, you don't have to go back, I get what you're saying.
Okay, all right, perfect. All right, and then just some updates from the curriculum office, because those are ELL scores. We are doing benchmark A, and then we had talked about benchmarks this summer. Form A has begun district-wide, so our students will be taking it. They'll be taking it 3 times a year, throughout the year. Our professional development for our teachers have started on 10/6, and we're focusing on best practices in remote learning. Our second session will be on November 3rd remotely. And our Title I committee meeting, reviewing our annual school plans have begun. And I know you guys are asking about the graduation rate and if we're going to, meet that at some point. And some of the things that come out of these annual school-wide plans are ways that we can get to that graduation rate. So one of the important things at the high school we're doing is we implemented department leads with our funding, and we also implemented specific RTI support. So that again is going to support us in meeting that graduation rate, hopefully for this year.
Excellent.
Any questions?
I don't know if this exactly pertains, but they're gonna have standardized testing this year, correct?
So it will all depend. As of right now, they said that we will. But I guess it will all depend on who our next president will be.
So they haven't given us enough
They have
info,
not.
okay.
No. Yeah, but in order for our funding, that comes from our tax.
Now, if I remember correctly from last year, there was a year that was skipped. I don't
That
know.
was for science testing.
Okay, so how are we with that for this year? We're not gonna be skipped for this year, it's gonna be counted, or how's that gonna work?
So, I mean, I guess we'd have to wait until the
We'd have to wait
but-
till
State tells you that, right?
Yeah, you have to have a year of data before it counts. So with that new science assessment, I think we presented it, it was actually like the day.
Cause I remember there was that
Yeah.
lapse there, so I just wanted to see how we were gonna do
Yeah,
it this year.
we've been kind of asking that same question because we're curious, like we only had the 2 years of data.
And
now
especially
it's
because it is
time
a growth test,
Yeah.
so we're skipping, we have nothing from last year. So to show growth is kind of difficult because it does follow the student, their score, so we don't know what.
Oh, why, you need all the data?
Yeah.
Only New Jersey can make it a little bit
And we
easier.
also are very aware that when we're giving benchmarks virtually to students at home, we can't say that they're 100% valid.
Yeah.
We don't know what their testing situation is at home, we don't know who's receiving some support from family, who is not receiving any support that they should be receiving. So it's gonna be very difficult even
think they'll do remote standardized testing? Possible?
Yes, we know,
Okay.
yeah. It will all depend on what they decide.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We're good? All right,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, great.
You have that slide sent to us?
Yes, we're gonna put it on the district website also.
Oh, okay, great.
Needs to be working on the district website to get all of our approvals tonight, so. The superintendent of schools recommends positive action on the following items. Under personnel, A, retirement district, B, non-professional employment, C, long-term substitute teacher district, D, leave of absence district. Under leave of absence,
Yes, on page 2, the last name we're going to pull. On page 3, the first, the second, and the fourth name we're pulling.
First, second, and fourth.
first, second, and last. No, you're right, fourth, sorry, yes.
On page 4 is the first and the last. That's it.
E, substitute teachers, paraprofessionals district. F, observations district. G, preschool home visit teacher preschool. H, Keansburg School District year-long professional development presenters. I, Titan Family Virtual Academy presenters district. J, coaches, Keansburg High School. K, Family Friendly Center, FFC. L, 2020-2021 advisor position, Joseph R. Bolger Middle School. M, payment for unused sick and vacation days, superintendent. N, payment for unused sick days, intern business, school business administrator / board secretary. O, district webmaster. E, ABA coordinators district. And Q, professional development costing $150 or above.
And to do the general? All motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Dahl.
I'm sorry, guys.
No, no, don't worry.
Gotta wait me a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Let's see. Mr. Miakowski.
Yes, however, I abstain on H to the first name.
You're abstaining my vote.
Yes.
Mr. Cook.
Yes.
Ms. Rydell.
Yes, to everything except C, first name, no.
Mr. Donaldson.
Yes.
Mr. Kitchen.
I just have a question, Mr. O'Hara. I thought we had discussed something about the coaches being volunteers this year and not, that was with Doug, I know.
These are the ones that are starting now.
Okay.
So once they start, we were.
I was just curious, because I remember,
No,
I'm
but
not
that's why
saying
it's
don't
the
pay them.
middle school-
I was just curious what happened.
No, but that's why you'll see the middle school wrestling coaches aren't in yet because they haven't started yet. So once they start, we approve them after.
Okay, great,
That-
yes.
That's not the right language that we had anyway, that's the simplified version that we did originally. It's much longer than that. It talks about, that
Didn't we have protections built in?
we did, but this language was the original one we did the very first time, and then we did different language ever since, and this is back to the original language. We just need to have a little, I made it a little more involved, the language.
Okay.
on it.
Do they do COVID? If school shut, school should cancel.
Right, if school closes, then they don't. Hire.
I like that.
And if the athletic association, or what do you call that?
NJSAA.
Right, if they cancel or set different regulations.
So you've got parameters in which to say,
Right.
okay, you're not getting, got it, okay.
a yes. No.
You're a yes, okay. Ms. Keller Harmeland?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Under general, 1, district HFD report. 2, organizational chart for the district. 3, memorandum of understanding between the community, YMCA counseling and social services in the Keansburg School District. 4, memorandum of understanding with law enforcement. 5, policy first reading. 6, regulations first reading. 7, amendment to the collective bargaining agreement. 8, policy second reading. 9, disposal of unused, outdated, broken textbooks, furniture, and equipment district-wide. 10, school bus evacuation drills. 11, special needs. 12, home instruction district. 13, independent consultants district. 14, annual notice of FERPA. 15, Monmouth County vocational regular education. 16, Monmouth County vocational special education.
All motion. And we need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Mr. Cook?
Got it. Mr. Donaldson?
Yes.
Mr. Mankowski?
Yes, however, I abstain on general number 7. It's actually just one question. On number 5 and number 8, which are the policies for 16-1402, we have previously looked at this. There's a couple of blanks in here again as the timeframes. Can we just make sure that the original timeframes from the first reading are encompassed within the second?
Yes.
Ms. Brightell?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes, but I just have a quick question in regards to number 3. I was going over the memorandum for understanding by the Y, and I was looking at some of this. It states that it has the standards, personnel policies, and practices for the YMCA. Is that the same as what we have here in the school system?
They
in the
have
school
to match
district?
all of our guidelines and policies.
So they do
Yes.
match each one.
They
So
have
there's
to
no
do-
over.
yes.
Okay, they have their own set of policies, and we have our own.
Well, they do, but then they look at ours, and if there's any discrepancies, they have to match ours. And they
Okay.
do.
And how does the personnel being hired by them? Is anybody check that as far as the background check is being taken
They
care
have
of?
to have all background checks, they have to do all of that, and it's actually, they come in to provide counseling services for our students, but they have to work with the families first, they do go through insurance, they do all of that, so it's like a big family program that we have.
Okay, no, it sounds like a great program, I
It
just
is.
wanted to be sure on those
Yes.
couple of matters. Okay, perfect, thank you. So the answer is yes.
Mr. Kitchen?
Yes.
And Ms. Keller Harmeland?
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried. I have to apologize because I've never done this before. It's normally, it's a board member that leads it, so, the superintendent recommends. This is, and before I start this, one of the things that I found is that we, at least historically, is as far back, we've never approved signatories on your bank accounts. And so I'm asking you, I have an addendum here prepared tonight to have you approve the signatory. And I want to stay with Bank of America for at least until January, because there's a lot of things in the back end that need to be done that the previous interim business administrator didn't do yet. And I need to keep with Bank of America for right now, because I can't change everything all at once and get everything done. So I want to stay at least till January and do that, and keep that in place. And then I'll make the switch to TV sometime in January or February, once I get everything in place. But I want to prove the signatures. And what it would be is the general operating account would be the board president, vice president, and then the superintendent and myself. The
payroll account would be the superintendent and myself. The cafeteria account is myself. The student activity account would be the superintendent and myself, and either one of us, and then the principal and the vice principal, one of those two signatures, so if you require two signatures on that, on all the student activity accounts. And on the scholarship accounts, it would be my signature, and on the petty cash account, it would be either one of us. So that's what we did. So we can have 1, 2, 3, 4. I think there's one more to go. One for you. And then for, oh, that's the one. Okay. Okay, first item is receive and acceptance of the secretary's report. Second item is approve and ratify the bills paid and checks issued prior to a board meeting. And this is another thing I will show you, you will never have another item like this because, it's not something I believe in. The board should always pay bills at the night of the board meeting, never unless it's debt service. The only thing you should pay prior to a board meeting is debt service or,
The lawyer, you always have to pay the lawyer.
the payment the board meetings also.
We deduct the money's late, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Next item, there's no money involved in that one. And number 3, the fourth item is approve appropriation transfers prior to a board meeting. Number 5, approve and ratify payroll services rendered. There's September 15th, $913,820.04, September 30th, $923,127.04, October 15th, $964,515.71. BSO 6 is transportation jointure from Middletown. And BSO 7 is the addendum I just gave you, it's the banking institution signatures.
Are all those schools, I know we've got the list of it, are all those schools actually doing in
Yeah.
the students on location or virtual?
They're on location.
They're on location?
Yes.
Your addendum, we have a BSO 7 on our regular report, and then your addendum.
It's wrong, it was taken off.
This is supposed to be removed, this
Yes.
BSO 7? Okay.
So we need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Want a second? Thank you. Any questions, any discussion?
Let me just get this straight. Is this the same amount that we had last year for the busing? The reason I'm asking is because the out-of-district school reopening plans, they're in-person and full virtual for these schools. Some of them is like Ocean Academy is 2 days in person and 3 days
They
virtual.
charge you per day. It's up to that amount, they only charge you per day.
But the total amount's $162,000, so I'm wondering, this is not the tuition. This is
No,
the,
it's just the
this is the bus.
transportation.
Transportation.
Right,
So are we paying for 5-day
No,
transportation?
they charge us per day.
right, whenever they go.
Does it say what per day, or does it just give you a total?
I just have the total here, but.
That's what I'm saying, I only saw a total.
No, it's for the route. And
Yeah.
when they go, they go. And if they don't go, then we won't get billed for it.
Do I have a B? Is the C exhibit B?
Yeah, there's a B, at least I have one.
Where's that under?
It's right behind the
Yeah.
transfers report here.
Where?
I have one.
You do? Behind where?
Right behind that.
That's B?
That's big.
All right. So this doesn't tell you by the day, this gives you an annual cost.
Correct, but we have the details on the daily cost. They just.
What happens if,
We pay monthly, correct, Cindy?
what
Yeah,
happens?
we get a monthly bill, yeah.
Okay, so what happens if, Ocean Academy, we'll just keep using that one, changes to all virtual.
They don't bill us that way.
They won't bill us for it.
Who won't bill us? The bus company?
In Middletown, won't.
Middletown.
Correct.
Well, that's what I meant. Okay. So that annual cost is not to exceed.
Correct.
And that's written in the contract, like,
It's an understood thing, that's how it's always.
It's not just a thing.
yeah, I
That's
agree
what
with
I
you,
was
as long as we're
doing.
not paying extra.
No,
Excellent.
Okay.
any other questions?
Okay, actually, I do have a quick question. As far as the transferring from, in January to Bank of America, excuse me, from Bank of America to TD Bank, does that affect anything that we approved for the TD Bank before?
No, we're just gonna.
Just gonna put it off, so that doesn't affect anything?
No,
January is long enough for you to get everything in order.
I'm hoping it's like, there's a lot of things I have to do with the state.
Yeah,
with
we're just trying to make it
OEC.
easier for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I appreciate this, but there's a lot of things that have to be done, and it's just much easier, plus I've got to get a new person in the office, so.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So I appreciate it, thank you very much. Mr. Donaldson?
Yes.
Ms. Frizell?
Yes.
Mr. Kitchen?
Yes.
Mr. Jankowski?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
And Ms. Kelleher Moran?
Yes.
Thank you, motion carries.
At this time, I want to open up the board if you have anything on old business, new business.
Old business, new business.
I'm just glad to see that, all the, presentations today, it seems like we're going in the right direction. Nice to see.
Again, I think everybody's been doing a great job. That was a great presentation. Specifically to the high school, just at the last meeting, I spoke about the school-based youth services. I was happy to see that the governor reinstated our services, and so thankfully
was
we
huge
have
for us,
that.
yeah.
Thank you for all your efforts and for everybody else in the community that reached out, contacted media, did that to help us get our funding back.
Yes, while you're actually here, thank you to all the principals and all your staff for your hard work. And maybe Kathleen, if you could maybe explain, I know we've had a lot of people asking about why Boulder was closed. I know due to the guidelines that we received, maybe you could explain.
Yes, I know a lot of people are asking, and I've tried to share, it's very difficult because I'm sure you all understand too that there is HIPAA laws, so we can't tell you exactly who, we can't tell you exactly even how many, we can't tell you if it's a staff, if it's students. We really can't share very much, besides saying that we make the phone calls, share the exact information with the health department, and then we follow the guidelines that are issued to us. This one was very clear, because in the guidelines, which we could also, we had said too, we could post this, it might be something that, I know I shared with you, Ms. Minkowski. It might be something that clears up a lot of gray areas for some people, so the CDC guidelines has a chart that is very specific as this, then this, then this. So where we fell under this time specifically is if you have more than one case with an onset of within 2 weeks, 14 days, that are not connected cases, it's an automatic school closure of 2 weeks. There's a chart, it's clear as day, I'll put it on the website. If this, then this. That's exactly what we have. There was more than one case that happened with an onset within 14 days of each other that were not related cases. We closed for 14 days.
Maybe you can go into detail on why it's not
Okay.
till November.
So then the day when we would have been permitted back, according to what they say, because what you have to also understand is the 14 days does not start the day you might think it starts. It starts the last day of possible exposure within the building to anybody. So that day they tell us, this is your first day this is your last day of possible exposure. From this day, the next day starts the 14-day count. So for us, that would have allowed us to come back November 2nd. So then when we were talking to the county superintendent, Mr. LaRocca, and I, we would have come back for November 2nd. We have to be out remote November 3rd because it's election day, and then we would have been November 4th. So we would have been in one day, out one day, in one day, fall recess. So in conjunction with the county superintendent, it was decided there's no point in coming back for those 2 days in, out, in, and then fall break. So he said just reopen after your fall recess that was already planned. It's already in our calendar.
Thank you very much for point.
No,
I
that-
just, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No,
There are a lot of
I
people
think that's
concerned
important to
about it.
explain, because I see everywhere that everyone's like, over a month, you're closing over a month. There's fall recess, and coming back for the 2 days just wasn't something that would be beneficial for our students to come back, the second, out the third, back in the fourth, back out for fall recess. It just wasn't a good transition.
And we think that our school did a fantastic job from being faced with COVID and the school opening. We did have hiccups. There were bumps in the road, but we got it together. We also wanted to have a safe haven for our children. And even now, with the COVID and what went on, we tried to over-communicate, whether it was email, phone, Facebook. I mean, there's accessibility, there's tools, there's phone numbers. And really, we had very few children to come. Mr. LeBlanc, Ms. O'Hare, our security, our team was out there to greet the children that maybe didn't get the message, and then it dwindled down. So, I mean, there's a lot of good resources, and if anyone has a question, you know, they know who to go to. And don't believe everything you read on Facebook unless it's put on our website, okay? Because we're gonna give you the up-to-date, most current information. But our goal is to have safety for our staff, our children, and our community, and I think that everyone's done a phenomenal job. We can't thank you from the bottom of our hearts. You guys are the heartbeat, you keep everything together, and honestly, we couldn't do it without you. Before we close tonight, I just want to again thank the high school. You know, to have positive things about Keansburg in the newspaper is a long time coming, because we do so many good things, but unfortunately, we don't get the press for it. So when you look at 3-0 for Keansburg again, that's like, wow. You know, talking about Keansburg, another game this week, and you know, and it takes everyone. So it's not only the players, it's the coaches, it's your principals, it's your teachers. It's everyone pulling together just to show that we care, we support you during these trying times. We're still being mindful and respectful. So again, thanks to you, Mr. Fee, to your team, to your staff, and all our kids, and our community to say we believe in what we do. Thank you. Does anyone else have anything they can add?
Well, just something very simple. I'm really just proud of everything that this is. I'm so grateful that when people do question us, I really can say that everything was done properly. I went through each school. I was amazed at the work that everyone did, honestly. I'm proud of everyone that was involved in this, honestly. And our kids are safe, or, you know, our teachers, or administrators, wonderful. I just want to say simply, thank you. I'm proud of everyone. If that means anything,
That's, At this time, we're gonna open it to the public. We just need you to come up to the stage, name and address, please.
It's Tammy Hall, 1A Parkside Place, Keansburg 07734. I actually do have a couple questions. One, I receive an automated text message every day from the Board of Health in reference to Aiden. The 28th is when they're off quarantine. I don't know where the mix-up is.
It's
but
something different in the school.
Okay, well then that's completely fine, but as far as their last day for quarantine,
For the students that,
for the students is the 28th, and I do have the text message that comes through. One of my other things is, are the teachers, and I don't mean this in like a negative way towards all teachers, but being able to sit and listen to the class go for the remote students, it's not really class. It's a 5-minute, go do this, and that's it. It's done. It's over. That's not a class. And I know you guys can, you know, I'm sitting with them, so you aren't, and I know it's my word against theirs, but like today, Miss Nero and Mr. Katz, 100%, they were like on the whole half hour. They were, you know, quizzing him back and forth. It was like Ms. Nero told them, if you leave, it goes towards your accents and all that stuff. Like, she was straight on the day before, 5 minutes. And not many parents are involved, and I get that, but the kids who parents are involved, they're suffering, and it's not fair. That's just my opinion. I don't know if you guys could look into it.
we definitely can.
The kid, you know, I don't know if there's a way that you can monitor the classes, but
but it's not, it's
That's nowhere near our expectations as far as 5 minutes on 30 minutes virtual. It'll be addressed. We have all class codes. I know the administrators pop on the classes, so it will be addressed and we'll take care of it. You're welcome.
And that's
You
another.
can also call and speak to Mr. Naraka too, and tell
I
him.
actually, I called yesterday after his class, I really just kind of want like a round
The
table.
specifics are very helpful.
Right, and I
That's-
kind of want a round table with all his teachers because there's some things that are acceptable and not acceptable, and it's hard enough learning in the situation we're in right now, and they're not learning. And I don't know how to bring that to your attention other than to sit and record him being taught so you guys can see for yourself, because it's just gonna go back and forth, back and forth. No, this didn't happen, no, this did happen. It's happening, and like, if it has to get down to where, you know, we have to record to show you guys, I mean, I have no problem doing that, to bring it to the attention of everyone.
So you'll just touch base
Yeah.
with this all?
Yeah, I'll give you a total.
Even though there's like, I come up here and I speak my mind, I say, you know, how I feel, I know it gets annoying, but I also,
It's not annoying.
no, it is annoying, but
But I
I'm
would
just
say,
saying.
I'd love any parent to come here and say anything.
No,
You're
but
here.
I also, there is so many positives, and like, I got on today with Mr. Katz and Ms. Nero before, he's like, if anybody wants to stay on afterwards and have a little conversation with me, I'm like, Eden, stay on there right now. So he brought me the computer, I FaceTime with both of them, I thanked them for, you know, I told them the crappy classes he had the day before, and I told them I appreciate everything they do. I had a meeting for Lacey, with Miss Amy and Mr. Johnson. I emailed them, I let them know that was, I have Carrie, who's 26 years old. That was the best meeting I've ever had for one of my graduating students through Keansburg High School, and I let them both know. So as much as like, I'll get out there and I'll complain, I do give the positive too. And my last question is this, which I'm getting a lot of, like, people will message me, do you know what's going on, or whatever, I'm just involved. But here's one of the big things that, really is in question, and it's about the ballot that we received in the mail. So one of the names on the ballot happens to be somebody who sits on the town council. And I don't know this answer, and I've been trying to get it, and I'm trying to reach out. How is a person,
Can't sit on both.
right,
So if she was elected to here, she'd have to resign from there.
right, but where, that doesn't,
You're allowed to run for any
You gotta
office,
run.
or holding office, you just, before she, say if she's to win, before she's sworn in, she'd have to resign from her other position.
Right.
That is in any case, you could run for president as senator, and until you win the presidential election,
So
you're a
what's gonna-
senator up until you decide to, you have to step down before you're sworn in.
and
And that's allowed across the board for
And I
any
appreciate
election.
that, but as a community, how is that helping our community? Because what's gonna happen if the town clerk is resigned? So the town's gonna be able to appoint whoever they want? Or if she decides to stay there and what's gonna happen? Is it gonna just be appointed?
There's a
Like,
process to fill a vacancy for the borough council in the event that there's a council. Then, in the event that there's a vacancy, there's a process to go through for filling that vacancy.
Okay, and that's.
And then ultimately gets voted on by the 4 remaining council people.
Okay, and is there
And then
anybody?
that person is subject to run in the next election.
Special election, don't they have to have a special election, Mr. Bennett?
No, don't run in the next regular election for the unexpired term. But
And-
her term, by the way, her term is finishing.
And she's up to
So-
22.
So whoever runs in,
At this point though, it's not the who, it's the situation. Do you get what I'm saying? It's not the who, it's the situation, like,
well, I can only relate to the person that's doing it because,
right,
but
but,
it's the same for everybody. We've had other people from the board elected to the council. They have to resign from the board when they take the council seat. And then there's a process to fill the board vacancy. And the 40 years plus that I'm here, this is the first time it's been the reverse. Someone from the council ready to come on the board, but, right?
Really up to election.
How, just a random, but how do you think that affects us with, I know who you're speaking of, but how do you think her coming back or is affecting the school
No,
or
no.
affecting anybody?
it's not about, I just wanna set that clear. It's not about the who, it's about the how and the why. Like,
Why not like resign beforehand? Why
Well, there
try
is
to
a
hold?
process.
Did Carmella Harris
Web-
resign from the Senate to
That's
run
what
for
I was
vice
going to
president?
point out.
Yes, and so there is a process, John, there is a process, and I think the process is being followed the way it's supposed to.
And
I
it's-
mean, honestly, I don't think it really affects us, meaning as a board at all. That's my opinion, but I mean, I wish there was a reason, like, how do you think it's affecting it?
well, maybe.
I mean, I'm being sarcastic.
No, 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 I
So I
get
can be sarcastic, I mean.
No, you don't talk
But-
sarcastic, but
but-
it's just in general, I'm just,
You think it's gonna be confusing to who?
I just think, like-
I know you're talking about it, but I can't mention her name. If that individual comes back here, how do you think that affects your,
No.
this process?
it's the two spots, is what, like, I totally get what you're saying, it's a process, but
It's a common
The process-
process.
It affects the council if it happens.
right,
Yeah,
and
it-
it's
it-
like
it
a
will
cause and
affect-
effect all the way around,
It
is
more
what I'm
affects the
saying.
council than it will affect the school.
Right,
So the council really doesn't have anything to do with.
so if people have questions, who can they call?
I don't know what
The
the question
board,
is.
can they call?
Well,
Like,
well,
if
I tried
somebody
to
has
answer
a
it.
question
You would
about
have
the
to
question.
call your board of elections, honestly, that would be the person who would answer those questions the best, I mean, that's.
That was the answer.
Yeah, but there's no questions in the answer.
I know what's the question.
There's nothing to
The
answer.
law allows someone to file
And
for
that's
an
exactly
office.
what the board of
There's
elections.
no requirement for any office to vacate one office until they are elected
Yes,
and
I know
process
that, I
and
explained that earlier, and I
in the
said,
new office.
that's really not our job. to
That,
explain it.
that's the general law, I'm just giving you the general law. So, no matter if it's school board, council, United States Senate, and vice president, for instance, they don't have to vacate the position they're in until they're elected, and before they're sworn, they have to resign the other
Yeah,
spot.
design.
A resignation from any governmental post creates a vacancy. And the vacancy has a process under the law to be filled. It's generally appointed by the sitting body for the balance, in this case, until the next general election. So there would be, if anybody was elected to this board and there was a vacancy, the council would fill the vacancy, and then at the next council election, that position would be filled.
Okay, that's,
And that's true on all, and it's all over the country,
right,
and all boards and agencies, that's the process.
so that's what I'm saying, so if anybody reaches out, I'm just actually just gonna say, contact whoever, you gave me the explanation, it's kind of a lot to go into, I'm not gonna, repeat it out there, but I'm telling you that there is a lot of question, about that whole situation, so. They want, the real question is they know the one person is sitting on,
You
the
can't
council.
hold two positions, before you're
Right,
subordinated
but
in a
people out there- but
reorganization
people-
meeting, you have to
I
resign.
get that, but people out there don't know that. So when they get their ballot in the mail and they see a name on there and they know that there's already a position held by that person, there's question that they don't know who to contact. I think that's a decent
Okay, fair
question
enough.
to
Yeah.
have from people and
That's
want
why
an
I said,
answer.
well, county board of elections would be able to simply give them.
County clerk's office maybe, but the explanation is you can't serve two positions simultaneously.
Okay.
Period. So,
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hi, come on up. Say your name and address, please.
Barbara Fernandez, 2 Seaview Avenue, Keansburg, New Jersey.
you just keep the volume up a little bit, because it's hard talking through these things.
Yeah, and I'm not comfortable, speaking in front of people, knowing that
Oh.
it's
We're not people.
my.
Trust me, we are not.
I
Now
know,
we know who you are.
you've seen my face.
We didn't know who you were, Barbara.
Yeah, you've seen my face many times, and, it's, I feel like sometimes things are meant to be, so for me walking in on this, not knowing that this was what the meeting was about, and it's good that everybody feels that everything is going so well, but I have to back up Tammy and say, remote learning is not. I have to give so much credit to Mr. LaRocca because he is amazing. He addresses every single thing. I called him every single day, probably the first 3 weeks of school. He took every phone call. He called me back. He emailed me back. These teachers are still not doing what's expected of them.
there's not much more I can do. If I call the principal and he's addressing it, and these teachers are still not doing what's expected of them, if Ms. McMahon can come here and say that they're doing it for 5-year-olds, why aren't they doing it in middle school and high school? Why are these teachers dismissing kids after 5 minutes or 7 minutes, and I time it, because I don't leave my house between 12:30 and 2:30. I sit there and I go in every room because I have 3 kids, and that's about 15 teachers. There's only a handful of them doing what they're supposed to do. When you have an administrator coming in and walking around and looking, of course they're gonna be on their best behavior. Let's get in there and look on those logs and see when they're signing off, see when the kids, do you think that kids just jump off? Kids don't just jump off unless they are dismissed. My son doesn't jump off after 2 minutes. He does not jump off unless he's dismissed. And there was multiple classes that these teachers were on for 2 minutes, and they say, well, I'll be here if you ask questions. Where was the instructions then? You're assigning something. When you assign something, that's not the same as instructing the students. I don't know who came up with the idea of 2 hours being enough on remote. They're already getting half the education. In-person gets 4, remote gets 2. And let me just say, I did not pick remote for my kids. We had a severe medical problem in my family. That's why I was not on. My daughter and my granddaughter were in ICU during that particular time, so I didn't switch over. All my surveys said, if you're open 5 days, I'm going to come, whatever. So I kind of got stuck on remote, but I feel like things happen for a reason, because now I'm seeing the way my kids are talked to by these teachers that I don't appreciate, which I have addressed with the staff. I don't appreciate people putting my kids down in front of other people, in front of other students, embarrassing them in front of other students, which has happened numerous times. And I'm there in the room listening to it, watching my child be embarrassed, watching my child not get the education. So it's okay to look at these things and say, oh, well, everything's going good for remote students. I'm telling you, it's not. And I do address, like I said, I address the principal. What more can he do but go to these staff members and say, hey, look, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And then they're not doing it. Look at when, there has to be some way to track it. There has to be some way to track how long these teachers are on. But don't sit there and say to the kids, you're dismissed, and then just sit there with an open computer in your room when you're not teaching anybody. If these kids' education is already cut in half, don't you think they should be spending more time in front of that computer? Like I said, if you could do it and have younger kids sitting there in front of it, why don't we have the older kids? They need instruction. They need that. They're not getting anything else. They're stuck at home. They need that. They need to see their peers. They need to get they have to get something out of this. And then if teachers are not putting up stuff, I'm looking to see what's missing. Some of the teachers haven't put in the grades or anything since October 2nd. How do I know to say, hey, you got this to do, you got that to do, if the teachers are not getting in there and saying these are missing assignments? Then after 3 weeks pass, they throw up all the assignments and then it's 5 or 6 assignments missing. How am I supposed to know when they're not putting that up there? I can't keep track of that. Who's keeping track of that?
Should not have to do that either.
Who's doing that? Like I said, my kids are already, again, thank you, Mr. LaRocca. As soon as I said one of my children were having issues, and it wasn't even my whatever guidance counselor, it was someone that my child is comfortable. He set up a meeting immediately the next day. So I don't want to say like, oh, no one's doing anything, because I have addressed it, and he has been like a saint, completely a saint, to deal with me calling every single day. But if teachers are doing their job, I'm gonna say the criminal justice teachers, amazing. Those teachers are on from the second the class starts, engaging the students, speaking to the students the full time. Mr. Katz and Miss Nero, the full time, even when the first, second, or third day of school, when they kind of didn't have nothing, they asked the kids, what did you do? What do you like? What do you think you're good at? all these things. If some can do it, why aren't they all? They need to be held responsible. They're receiving a paycheck. If they were, I'm tired of hearing too, oh, but they're doing extra work because they're on remote. If we weren't on remote, they would still be in school till 2:30. They're being paid that salary for that time frame. They have to give these kids the education they deserve, and they are not receiving it. Like I said, a handful of them are outstanding, and I'm the first one to call the school and say, this one is doing amazing. That one is really doing their job. They're really engaging these kids. You know, I had compared in the high school what in-person was getting compared to what remote was. I understand it's not the same time frame, but let's think about that. Instead of saying, oh, but their time is cut short, so they can't do as much. Why aren't we saying their time is cut short, so use that 30 minutes? Don't jump off 15 minutes ahead of time. Use your 30 minutes. You're not giving them an hour, you're giving them 30 minutes. Why don't you use that 30 minutes of that? Like I said, instead of saying, well, it's cut short, I'm just saying, I have 3 kids here. I had 5 kids here, both my kids. I stayed, my husband lives out of state. I stayed because I loved the district here. I'll do anything, bend over backwards for anybody. I'll donate my time. I've always been to back this district up, and I am here to say my kids are not receiving the education that they should. And I see my kids are not the only people in the class. So if these teachers are signing off for my kids, they're signing off for everyone else. When my kid gets a gym video that's 2 minutes long or 4 minutes long that requires them to have bands and other equipment, my child had it. Did we check and look at that video to see, did everybody's child have the equipment? These are just a few of the things. I have been sitting here going into each one's bedroom and listening and watching and taking notes about it, because I believe in our district, and I believe that these teachers can do better for our remote students.
No, I agree. So I'm thinking just based on, I know it's just 2 people, and it's a shame that we only have 2 people that come, but thank you 2 for coming. And I think that we had said, knowing that we're going to be on, or at least offering remote for any amount of students prolonged, that we would start a committee and have discussions with both parents and staff. So I think that we should initiate that now. So we'll do committees, that'll be just basically just remote instruction, and we'll invite board members, whoever wants to be part of that too, and we'll figure out a way to get together and how to make this work better, because everything you're saying is not acceptable. I just want you to know, none of us think that this is acceptable.
Right, no, and when I speak to the principals and I say that, it's not like they're saying, oh, yes, that this is what we expect. They're saying that's not what we expect.
Yes.
And it's my kids repeatedly, there's an expectation, okay, so they have the 4 hours in the morning to do homework. You know how many zeros my kids have gotten from these teachers saying, you didn't do this work on time? And then I have to send another email to the principal and say, what are they supposed to be doing the next morning then? They have 4 hours. I'm not letting my kids sleep till noon. I'm waking them up. I expect them to do their work, and then they're getting 0, 0, 0, 0. Late work, points off for missing work, points off for late stuff. No, you're supposed to be doing it the next morning. You're still assigning, saying it's due the same day. Like like I said, I'm trying to follow whatever rules were given
You're
to me.
explaining it exactly as it should be working.
And that's, and then I'm constantly, emailing, I spoke to Ms. Formica as well, who also, helped and, went into classrooms that I said, and actually, some of the things I brought up actually did end up happening then in the classroom. I said, if you're reading aloud in your regular classroom, why can't you read aloud with the students on remote? And then that actually happened. So I was happy that I brought that up, because then it actually happened in the classroom. Do something, engage these kids. They're stuck in the house. They're already stuck in the house. That's all, that's some of them. For my kids are not out about doing everything. All they had was the cross country that now got turned down. That's all they had. And like you said, the football is something, bringing the kids back. The cross country was something for my kids personally that really, I've seen both kids now since Friday, like, just completely different, because they did have that. There's nothing else they have now. Now everything is shut down, there's no other extracurricular for them, so if they're stuck on remote, at least give them the education that they deserve. And I'm not a parent that, I've had my kids, even though it's the teacher's not putting the assignments up, I have my kids on Friday say, tell the teacher, if there's anything missing, you're grounded the whole weekend. Like, I'm on them because I want them to receive an education.
And they deserve it.
Yes, they do.
Every child
And
does.
if one teacher's doing it, if the younger kids who are harder to keep engaged are able to do it, and our preschools are doing it, why can't our high school and our older kids, we cannot dismiss it and say, oh, but they're older, they should be working on their own. They're not college. They need that for their mental health as well. They need that interaction. They need to feel like I'm valued. I deserve this education. I'm important too. They need that. Like I said, I've seen it with my own kids. This pandemic has really hurt children mentally, emotionally. It really has. But then if they're not getting the education, they're falling behind. And our district is not going to do well when that many of our kids are remote. Maybe parents are working, maybe they don't see, maybe they're not interested. I am.
So are we.
Like I said,
We'll make sure it'll be taken care
like
of.
I said, I can't say thank you to him enough for taking every single phone call, every complaint, and never batting an eye, never being rude to me. He has taken and listened to everything I said, listened and responded and reacted to what I said, to what my concerns were. And I do appreciate you, and I thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. That's why we call him Precious Joe.
Yeah.
I just want to say something.
You knew that was coming.
I just want to say something. I am absolutely, being a board member, blown away, okay? You should never be up here saying any of that. I'm blown away. Like, I'm sure after tonight, this will be taken care of.
No question.
After grades, inputting grades, we talked about this hundreds of times. This should never, ever be an issue at a board meeting again, ever, ever. I am so tired as a board member of hearing about teachers not inputting grades. They have a time limit, it should be done. You shouldn't be coming here. I had this issue a while ago with my own daughter being here. Teachers were not inputting grades until 3 weeks later and not giving students the opportunity to say, hey, what's wrong? What was missed? What can I do to better myself in that class? I get it. Hopefully, you will be here on a positive note, and this will be taken care of after tonight.
Right. And the thing too is the assignments too. If they're not up there, not every kid can just listen, then rush into the next class, and then the next class, and then the next class. Meanwhile, you're locked in your room because there's so many kids in the house that everybody has to be in a separate room. So it's not ideal for us. But he doesn't remember all the time, okay, this is due. I can't even go to the assignment thing because not every teacher is putting the assignments in.
I'm sure
So what,
none of us knew
I'm
what was
asking for
going
help.
on,
I
so
want you to know.
we do know.
Because if we don't tell you, if we don't call the principals, if we don't say that, and maybe it sounds redundant, but if we don't tell you, how are you going to know?
We're not.
And they're
Unless
still
you come here, we're not going to know.
Right, and I said, I just felt like seeing this and, all these things are great. Seeing graduation things and all these things are great. But this is the time that we're in now. We are in remote learning. Kids are staying in remote learning. But they're not staying in remote learning to be on vacation. They're staying in remote learning to learn. And we need that from these teachers. And we have there's so many, and like I said, the issue which I did bring up, and I'm not saying, names in public because that's rude to do or anything, but I don't want to see my child spoken to that way. It's okay if a teacher is a great teacher, but if they're being rude to the kids and they're, embarrassing kids and everything, that is not acceptable.
Would you mind elaborating a little bit on that? Because I think we want to provide a safe education for everybody, and I'm very concerned to hear that someone is being belittled.
Oh, very belittled. Multiple times.
In any regard.
Multiple times, asking there's a policy in place for math that you have to screenshot your work and send it in. And on my youngest, her computer, whatever it is, you can see the person, but you can't screenshot on her computer. So she has used my other daughter's computer. She went and she did it herself and she screenshot the stuff. So when the teacher came and was saying to the students, oh, this one, you didn't screenshot, and another child, whatever had the issue, my daughter just went to say, well, my computer doesn't work, and she said, it has to work. I can see you through the camera. And she said, but that's not the way that you screenshot. It's a different button. She was trying to explain her, and she goes, don't you have a phone? Everybody has a phone. My daughter doesn't have a phone because I don't think a sixth grader doesn't need a phone.
No.
So the rest of the class starts snickering at her because she had to say in front of everybody, I don't have a phone.
May I ask, is the computer the school issue or is
Yeah.
it their own? It is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a school computer and everything, and I figured we have 3 in the house, she can still use somebody else's, that's fine. We're limited to what we have, but hers is actually broke. So, or
Oh,
not
hers
broke.
is actually broke, did you put in a tech request, because they will fix it.
Mr. Lark actually
Okay.
just said that, he did just tell me that because I didn't know and I didn't wanna bother with everything.
And just so you know with that too, Ms. Ramika was working on the survey to put up that we're gonna keep running on the district website, that's gonna be automatic, and we're gonna keep it running the whole time if you have any tech computers, if you're having problems logging on, anything, so it's gonna be live going up in the next couple days, so that any parent can go on if there's any kind of tech issues, if they're having a problem with Wi-Fi, so the state is mandating this.
Oh, the Wi-Fi is, that's the other
The
thing.
state just mandated the
Is
survey.
the Wi-Fi working or is it not working?
So, the Wi-Fi, I don't know if it's everybody getting on, I live right across the street from the beach. So I think we always have, I even upgraded my cable, which I think that's a lie, but I upgraded my cable, it's not upgraded. But we went to the fastest internet possible. I'm paying more money because my kids are on remote and it's not working.
Might be their distance from the router.
Yeah.
No, we got a new router, like everything, and it's still not working. So every time
No, sometimes I have to put a
my
router in,
daughter goes
you know,
on
and extend it
and
really
it
long.
lags, she says, everybody else is on, why can't you be on? Everybody else is in a different household. We all don't have the same Wi-Fi.
Well, let me first say that I'm not happy to hear that it's happening, but I am glad to see that you came out and you brought this to the board here. I'd like to see parent involvement, especially at these meetings.
I haven't done it in a long time, but
Well, thanks for coming
I
here.
feel like, you know what, if I don't, and it saves
Yeah,
Mr.
these
LaRocca a
things
lot of,
should be brought to our
Yes.
a lot of time for me to say it in public, but it's just something that, because I'm a Titan, my kids are Titans, like we believe in this district, and I've stayed here for a long time and, had kids come through here. So it's not like, oh, I don't want them to do this, and I think the district is so bad and this and that. I don't want anybody talking about the district, but if we don't address the problems, it's not going to get better.
Well, thank you for your dedication.
So,
Thank you.
And we'll take care of.
We've got-
Thank you.
For now, and the first
Thank
phone call
you
we
for
make
coming.
for the committee, Barbara, so.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks again.
Thank you for your time. And the only other thing is, why are the school pictures like at night for remote students?
That's for me, that's at the high school.
Yes.
So we have we're trying to, like, the virtual students are virtual for a reason. I have to assume that students that are virtual are not coming to school because of maybe there's like extenuating circumstances or like they're more of a risk of getting sick. So we have it separated so that like there's not all the kids in school. Also to have all that traffic coming in and out of school during the school day would be distracting. So our in-school kids are getting it during the day on Wednesday, and our remote kids are doing it at night. That's what the picture company had for us. That was the only time.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, if
Yeah.
the school kids were getting it during their school time, I was just wondering why it wasn't between the 12 and 2:30.
Because they don't want to take away a school day either from them. That's why.
You know, it was just asking, because
Yeah, no,
I feel like the remote kids are already like pushed off, so I'm just like, wow, like some of the appointments are like 6 o'clock at night. I mean, for me, it's 4 o'clock, but Madison does have cross-country.
Yeah.
So it's like a thing, she has cross-country till almost 4 o'clock, and then her pictures are at 4. So that,
And if
know, so I was just wondering, why was it after
And
school time?
if she needs, like a later time to get ready, like, Ms. Lowe, you can email Ms. Lopez, she can arrange that. But we didn't want them to miss their remote instruction for the day either, so that's
Yeah,
why,
no,
yeah.
It was just
I
like-
think you might have gone over the 5-minute limit.
Yes, yes, and you know what, I gotta get to CVS because
You
I'm always at CVS. They're gonna close soon.
make great
Thank
points.
you.
Thank you so much, thank you
Nice
for
to
your
meet you,
time.
actually.